Hello and welcome to part four of the TikTok marketing overview. Today we're going to go through the last of the triumvirate of focus areas that we have with TikTok, and that is social commerce. Now, you may have an idea of what social commerce is, but I will really give you a quick overview here. It is the ability for um, I should say, an app or a platform anywhere online to sell products using mostly social means. And by that, I mean not just customer reviews and shares, but really utilizing posts, utilizing customer tutorials, influencers, other user generated content to showcase a product or a service. And then you can buy it online, usually through a single click, at least to the product page from the post. A lot of people have said that Amazon is really the e-commerce or the social commerce giant. I would argue that is not the case. Amazon is trying to integrate more elements of social media into its platform. However, it is an e-commerce platform first and foremost. I'm not sure if that will ever change. TikTok, on the other hand, starts as a social media platform and is integrating e-commerce. So if you look at this slide here on the right, there is an image. You might not be able to see it. It's a screenshot of a TikTok that I screenshot, and that is a what is that? That's a steamer. I tried to get an image of it earlier, but there was a person steaming wrinkled pants, and it was about a 30-45 second video. It made it look like, the steaming process was instant. And I just tried to get them showing the steamer in action here. The steamer's on the left, and then you can see the steam is coming out over to the right side. I have circled in yellow a link to the product in the TikTok shop, because if you click that, you will then go to the product in the e-commerce section of the TikTok platform. You will also notice that here on the screen, there's no, like, the shop, the e-commerce platform is not easily accessible from the homepage, from like your general screen. Um, Up top, there's the various views. There's the various scrolls, right? There's live, there's the For You page, there's the following page, but then at the bottom, homepage, friends, there's the plus button, which is to add a new video, an inbox, and then the profile. So that shop button, kind of like midway down there, is what that I've circled, is the only way to get to the shop from here. I point this out because, to me, and really the definition of social commerce is, the app is meant to use social media and creators and really anybody can do this to push the products, and they're not pushing the products as much themselves. On Amazon, it's all about the store. Even on Instagram and Facebook, like, you can easily get to commerce sections of the platform pretty fast. Now here you cannot get there from the normal screen, from the top menu or the bottom menu, but you can only get there when you see a post. Now, I think you can get to the shop via other means, but it is not front and center like you might expect. Now, the other thing is, this is the first place to really do this, where TikTok has really tried to push people, users, to promote products and then link them in their videos. When the shop first went live here in the US, there was a huge push. A lot of people who had these online stores were given all sorts of deals. They had lower commissions for, lower percentage that TikTok would take, and then they also were made advertising really cheap, and they could easily connect with creators and other influencers to promote their products and publish them. So it's a pretty interesting way to go. Now, the way that I look at this though is TikTok is now entering a world where they're trying to compete with Amazon because, as you know, a couple of social media platforms that we've already talked about are completely dependent on ad revenue to stay afloat. That's Meta and that's Google with YouTube. So TikTok does not have that quite doesn't have quite that luxury. Again, TikTok's not publicly traded, so we don't know exactly what percentage of revenue is from advertising, but I know that they are trying to diversify this a little bit more, hence the online store. So I think TikTok's number one competitor, or at least who they're coming for, is Amazon. They're a long way from that, obviously. But it's interesting because if you look at Douyin, the Chinese version of this app, there is a lot more reliance on a lot more prevalence of people sharing products, like a lot more. And it's not everywhere. You still see your trends and everything, but on I would argue on the US version, it's maybe 10 to 15, maybe 20% of posts. And in Douyin, from what I have seen, the reports are showing that it's more than 50% of posts are people showcasing products. So, and it's not that it's like overly commercialized. It's that that's just kind of the way. It's almost like as if Amazon were to create in a social media platform and everybody just started promoting the products, not because they're trying to make money off of it. Well, that might be part of it, but really because that's just like the place that you would do that. So it's an interesting dichotomy between what Amazon is doing right now and what TikTok is trying to do. If you compare the two, TikTok is really more of a top of the funnel platform right now because it is all about product discovery. You don't know what you don't go to TikTok right now. You don't go to TikTok looking for a specific product. You go to TikTok to scroll, to pass time for whatever reasons you have for hopping onto TikTok, and it's a happy coincidence if you see a product that you really like and you end up making a purchase. Right? These are more of those impulse buys, and the way that we look at this is TikTok is really the top half of the funnel, which is the teal turquoise there. Amazon is more at the bottom where you go in knowing what you want. You already have a demand. So if you look at this as the AIDA funnel, awareness and interest are at the top, which is really where TikTok is finding their sweet spot. The demand and action are at the bottom, right? Where you are searching with intent, you know what you want, you go to Amazon for that. If you are ready to make a purchase, you go to Amazon. You can still check out and finish everything on TikTok, right? This isn't to say that you can't do that, but it is. But if you check out on TikTok, if you go through the whole funnel, you can do that, but it takes, you can't just take an interest in it. You can make the impulse buys, but the process is usually a little bit more vetted. Partially also the trust thing. On Amazon, we all trust Amazon. We all trust Amazon to deliver our products quickly and effectively, and without usually breaking stuff. With TikTok, there's still a large question mark here about where is this coming from? Who is the company behind it? Are they American made? Are they from overseas? Are we using child labor? Is it made sustainably? Like there's all these questions and a lot of mystery around TikTok products. A lot of people compare TikTok's shop and the products to Temu. I have spent a lot of time on both of those, and I can say that's definitely the closest experience you're going to get on TikTok. It's not at all like Amazon yet. The way that the store works, the way that the products are displayed, is much more aligned with Temu than on Amazon. Amazon is very, like, for an example, I don't have them here, but like Amazon on your phone, if you search for a product, you get a row, you get all the products are lined up vertically and you can scroll down to see all the different products. For TikTok, they are aligned in a 2x2 matrix, sometimes 3x3, depending on your settings. And from there, I believe it's right to left. You can also go up and down. It's just a very different user experience, and it does not feel like Amazon whatsoever. Now, if you want to look at the actual numbers behind this, TikTok's growth is pretty fast, pretty quick. You're looking at 16 total global markets, and this year we have a projected $112 billion of social commerce going through TikTok. Again, this is global. This is not just here. But again, I mean, even if it is global and not just local and domestic, this is a pretty shocking jump. The TikTok shop launched in the USA. What was that? Late 2024. So you can see how the growth from inclusion here in the United States has certainly helped these jumps. 33 billion to 64. Like that's almost 100% growth, 2024 to 2025, and and more than 100% growth. No, it's not. Almost 94% growth expected for this year. These are numbers that you do not see on individual platforms. And now, if you're looking at like, hey, the race to that $100 billion mark, which is where TikTok's going to hit this year, it took TikTok 4 years to do that, maybe five. It took Amazon 18 years. Now, Amazon, has the disadvantage of being primarily a book retailer online when it was launched in the mid 90s. This is also amidst a time when internet usage was a fraction of what it is today, like less than a fraction. There's 5 billion people on the internet today. So, of course, the opportunity to get to $100 billion in revenue, or in sales, I should say, not to mention the whole inflation thing, is much easier today than it was almost 30 years ago. But the point stands. Like, you're still looking at it's 4.5 times faster, which to me, I mean, I would never expect something to take 18 years today, but 4 to 5 years is still pretty quick. I would argue 8 to 9 is probably normal. I think that's what you're going to see with the Meta platforms. But also, the big difference between what TikTok has online and what like Meta has online is that Instagram and Facebook, you are clicking on a product, usually an ad, and you are going just to that store for that single company. Here, you click on that Steamer shop button and you are going to the entire shop. You're going to that product, but you can easily access others. So, but all of this is to say TikTok is winning in one main spot, and that is the ability to convert people. When you compare TikTok to Facebook or Instagram, you're seeing a 2.5 times higher conversion rate, and you're seeing a very stark difference in checkout time. That's just against all e-commerce platforms. So the big takeaways here are: one, TikTok makes it very, very easy to quickly get in and get out. With Instagram and Facebook, if you've bought from those platforms, you know how challenging it can be. Being logged in through the platform is not enough. You usually need to log into Stripe or Shop or any of these other whatever is the individual shop has connected in terms of a payment processing system. With TikTok, it's all handled through TikTok, which is more akin to Amazon, and it really makes it seamless. Now, that doesn't just help with timing and conversion rate, but also it allows you to do more. The fact that you can go and you click on the button for the steamer, right? You add it to your cart. Suddenly, you see 5 other things that relate to that aren't even from that same retailer. That could be from anyone else. And you're seeing it, and now you're a lot more compelled to add more products to cart and cash out. You're seeing this classic e-commerce trend, I don't even call it trend, this strategy of related products. Again, Amazon's made this normal. TikTok can capitalize on this, but Facebook and Instagram cannot. It's not that they don't want to. It's more that those apps are just not built for this yet. The Facebook Marketplace is different because those are I mean, that's an online garage sale for better or worse. Um, but really, the interesting thing that I look at is if Instagram and Facebook are going to make the shift to full social commerce and try to change this difference, try to catch up to TikTok, they need to make some major UI overhauls. And I think that maybe that's in the works, but it's probably going to take a little bit of time. Now, if we just to wrap up TikTok here, a couple of quick takeaways for businesses because I don't think I really did this super well up to this point. Um, is a couple of things, right? For social commerce, let's just get that point out of the way. Just keep an eye on it. There are lots of American retailers that are out there that have made a lot of money on social commerce. If your company and your brand, if you are in a position to sell online through something like TikTok, I think it's worth considering because there's a lot of opportunity there, and TikTok is really trying to build a retailer base. So there are a lot of incentives, and the cost of doing business on TikTok is just less than it is to do business on Amazon right now. Um, and connected to that, it allows you to let your customers tell your story. Um, Even if you could run the exact same campaign on TikTok and on Instagram, and TikTok's going to probably lead to a higher conversion rate just because there are fewer barriers to conversion. Not to mention the type of like the ease of linking to the product store is way better on the TikTok platform as well. If your brand is in that line of work, I would recommend trying both and seeing what works better. But in terms of the actual TikToks themselves, the best TikToks are the most engaging TikToks. They're short. They're not 60 minutes, even though you could do that. They're short and they're straight to the point, but they also need to entertain and tell a good story. And the algorithm makes it so that it's never too late to start. There are thousands of accounts with 1 million followers out there, so it looks daunting. If you're on TikTok and you're watching videos, you'll notice most of the videos you watch have lots of likes and lots of comments. But that doesn't mean you can't get into that same stratosphere. You just need to have a compelling story. You need to be able to hook people's attention, and you really need to be able to figure out your niche. Just be clear about your content, be clear about what you're talking about. And yeah, even if the first video doesn't go viral, it's one of those things where you just need to post on a consistent basis. But remember too your audience, and remember too not to go too far. Brands on TikTok that are overly corporate, obviously they're not going far enough because nobody's going to like that stuff. But you don't want to go overboard with it. Companies like Duolingo, they are kind of the standard right now. But I also understand that is a little bit more cringe, depending on the industry and depending on what you're selling. So that's it for TikTok. This was a little bit much longer than the last one on Remix Culture, but I did want to go through all of the social commerce data. If you have any experience selling on TikTok, I would love to hear about it. So feel free to reach out. I'd love to do a case study. And otherwise, hopefully you enjoyed this series. Yeah, if you haven't already, be sure to check out Marketing with YouTube as well. That's a 6-part series, though, so it's a little bit more intense, but covers a lot of similar topics. And hopefully these have been somewhat informational. Not trying to make a TikTok or a short here and be overly attention grabbing, but hopefully it also doesn't put you to sleep. So thank you.